Hi there, Kia owners. Today in your 2020 Kia Telluride, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install etrailers Class 3 2-inch trailer hitch receiver. We do have the access panel removed, and you do have the option to trim out the access panel around the hitch if you did so, you wanted it so. But you could just leave it removed, and that's probably the better option if you're going to be adding in a 7-way connector and things like that here at the back, because those connectors are quite large and you don't want them hanging down too low. So this is kind of the setup I would recommend if you're going for a full 7-way with brake controller setup. The hitch itself is a Class 3 2-inch by 2-inch receiver, so it's going to be great for all of your towing needs, whether you're wanting to use it to haul a trailer or maybe a small camper, or maybe you're wanting to just use it for accessories like bike racks and a cargo carrier. It should be able to handle all of that. You'll secure your accessories to your hitch using a 5/8 inch hitch pin and clip. Now, one doesn't come included with the hitch, but we've got plenty available here at eTrailer. And I'd also recommend upgrading to a locking hitch pin to protect your investments that you have secured to your hitch. On bottom, we've got hoop-style safety chain loops with a very large opening that should accommodate just about every shape, size, and style of safety chain. Our smaller one here has no problem hooking on there easily, and our big guy right here can clip into place and remove quite easily as well. This hitch offers a 750-pound tongue weight, which is the force going down on top of our receiver. And that's going to be more than enough for a 4-bike platform rack fully loaded up with 4 bikes, or the largest cargo carrier that we've got available here at eTrailer, fully loaded up all the way to the max. It also offers a 5,000-pound gross towing capacity, which is how much that you can pull behind it. And that's going to be enough if you've got a boat or maybe a small camper, a pop-up camper. Maybe you've got a jet ski or anything like that you want to bring, or even if you've got maybe a small car hauler as well, you could potentially do that as long as you're hauling some lighter loads. Now, this hitch is rated for use with a weight distribution system, and when using one, you're going to have the same tongue weight, but your gross towing capacity is going to increase up to 6,000 pounds. And that might be the difference that you need to pull that particular thing behind you that you were trying to pull. A weight distribution system will take the weight that's sagging down the back of your vehicle, and it'll help redistribute it onto the front axle, restoring lost braking and handling performance. This is going to return your geometry of your suspension to the way it was, so you've got good contact to the road with your tires, and it's also going to allow the weight to transition onto the front brakes, so your braking performance is similar to what it was when you weren't hauling a load. Now, as always, I recommend that you verify in your vehicle's owner's manual and ensure you don't exceed any of its towing capacities. Now, I've got some measurements for you to help you when deciding on accessories. From the center of our hitch pin hole to the edge of our rear bumper, it looks like we measure right at about 4.5 inches. This is important when determining if any of your accessories are going to contact the bumper when inserted into the receiver tube, and if they can be placed in the upright storage position without contacting the bumper. And from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube, we measure right at about 15.75 inches. This is important when determining if you need a drop, a rise, or a raise shank on your accessories. Now that we've covered some of the features of our hitch, why don't you follow along with us in the shop. There is a few components that we're going to have to remove underneath the vehicle, as well as lower our exhaust, but we don't have to do any trimming or drilling into the frame of the vehicle, and there may be trimming required here on the removable piece if you so desire. I would say this hitch could be done in your driveway in less than an hour, maybe about 45 minutes to an hour, somewhere in between there. So why don't you follow along with us and we'll go step by step so you can do it at home. We'll begin our installation here at the back of the vehicle. We'll need to lower down our spare tire to give us enough room to be able to get it in place. We can reinstall the spare tire after we get our hitch installed, but it's just going to be in the way for now. You'll find your spare tire removal right here. Just remove the cover there, and there is the hex that we'll need to use to lower it down. Your tools for your spare tire can be located in the compartment here. You just lift up on this cover lid right there. It just pulls right off, and you'll find your tools inside here in this little bag. We'll take the hex extension and put it into place, and then the lug nut tool we'll put on there, and we're just going to rotate it counterclockwise to lower the tire down. We'll then just slide our cable up through the tire, and we'll set it aside out of the way. We'll now need to remove the underbody panel on the driver's side here. There are 3 push pins on the bottom we're going to remove. You can use a flat-bladed screwdriver or a trim panel tool. You'll see that there's kind of little notches in the pins. That's for you to get your tool into, and then once you pop the center out, the entire pin will just pull out of there. So we'll just repeat that for the remaining ones on here. Now that we've got those push pins removed, there are 2 plastic nuts that hold it in place. We're going to use a 14mm socket to remove these. And when you remove these, you're going to pull down slightly on it. That just helps assist it. Those plastic nuts just don't seem to work too well without a little bit of assistance like that. And then we can just set this off to the side. Next, we're going to be lowering down our exhaust. So we're going to grab a strap and put that in place so we don't accidentally lower it too far. We're just going to hook our strap onto the rear suspension here. And that way we've got a cradle there to catch our exhaust. This is what our isolators are going to look like, our hangers for our exhaust. We're going to be removing this one here, as well as the ones on our mufflers. You can see there's one here at the back, and there's one also in the opposite corner of that one there, located over here. To remove our isolators, we're going to use a little bit of silicone spray. That'll help them slide off of there easier. And then we can just use a pry bar to get these off. Sometimes you can get lucky and find a good spot to hook your pry bar to pry it off. But if you can't, in most cases, if you just take your pry bar and put it at the bottom there and then just give it a good push, you can just pop it right off of there just like that. So we're just going to repeat that now for the remaining hangers until we get it lowered down. Now that we've got those hangers loose, we're just going to support it here, and then I'm just loosening up our strap a bit so we can get that pulled down some out of our way. We're now going to clean out the factory weld nuts located on the bottom of the frame. You'll have 2 on each side here towards the back. We're just spraying a little bit of lubricant in there, and then we're taking a bristled brush and just cleaning out any dirt and debris that might be in there. That can just help your bolts install a lot easier so you're not fighting them. We're going to repeat that for each of the weld nuts on the bottom, so 2 on this side and then 2 on the other side. If you need a bristled brush like this, you can get one here at etrailer. We also want to remove the panel located right here. Our hitch is going to collide with it, and there is going to be some trimming that's required if you want to reinstall the panel, or you can just leave the panel off without reinstalling it. That's all up to you. So we're just going to remove the 2 pins located on each side. These are just like the side panel that we had removed. And then after you remove both of those, it just kind of pops right out of there. It's held in by just some quick clips. So if we just kind of get behind them, you can kind of help work it out with your hand. And here's the clip that I was helping push out, just the little tab there. I was just kind of pushing it inward a little bit to get it to release. So we're going to go on this side. We're going to do the same thing. We're just kind of pushing in just a little bit, just to assist it popping out of there. And we'll have 2 screws located on the back. We'll take these out with a Phillips screwdriver. You could also use a bit. And with all of our fasteners removed, we got it popped out all the way around. We can then just set this aside. Now, if you were going to trim your panel, it would be best to mark it per the diagram now and trim it and then reinstall it, because it's going to be difficult to get those fasteners reinstalled once we put the hitch in place. So it is easier to trim that out now while the panel's off, then put it back up, and then you can put your hitch up there. If you're just going to be leaving it off, then I would just recommend removing these 2 screws here, and then these components here will just come right off, and then you can leave this open to access your hitch and your wiring or whatever else you're planning on installing there. We're now going to prepare our hardware before we lift our hitch up. It'll be easier if you already got it prepared. Take the long bolts that come in your kit, and we're going to place a conical tooth washer on it with the teeth facing away from the head of the bolt, so that way it digs into our hitch. We're going to prepare 2 of these for each side. And now with an extra set of hands, we're going to lift our hitch into position. You want to go up over the exhaust first. We'll then lift it up, and the hitch should line up with the holes in the bottom of the frame, and should also line up with the holes in the side of your frame. We're going to be taking the large bolts, and from the inside out, we're going to slide our bolts through just like that. Once we get one slid through on each side, the hitch will hold itself up, making it easier to install the rest of your hardware. Once you've got those slid through, we can take conical tooth washers and nuts and place those on the other side, just like this. And that will ensure that our bolts can't slide back out on us when we're putting on the rest of the hardware. When we put the conical tooth washers on this side, we want to make sure the teeth are facing towards the frame and away from the nuts that we're inserting on there. We'll now take the smaller bolts that come in our kit. These are going to get conical tooth washers as well. The teeth are going to face towards the hitch, and these ones are going to thread up into the bottom. Maybe necessary to slide your hitch forward and backward just a little bit to get those to line up. There'll be 2 on each side, so you want to make sure you get all those inserted. We can now go back and tighten down our hardware. We're going to start with the bottom using a 17mm socket. We're going to get these snugged up on each side. And then we'll use a 19mm socket and wrench to tighten down the through bolts. And then we can go back and torque our hardware in the same order that we tightened them down. With all of our hardware torqued down, we can start reinstalling all the components that we've got underneath so we can get that exhaust back up and get our side shield back on. And while you're installing your hitch, this is a great time to install your custom fit wiring. You can find your connector located right here. When reinstalling the exhaust, that spray lube does really come in handy, because you can just push it right back on there by hand in most cases if you've got a little bit of lube on there. And that completes our installation of eTrailer's Class 3 2-inch trailer hitch receiver on our 2020 Kia Telluride.